goddamn get it on, will ya? Woo. When the blow up now, everybody's so unusual with it. Shit. But said times in his rhymes, cause his memories, we running through New York.
Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be going over a subject that I've been getting messaged about many times, and this is don't ever buy a BMW with the diamond key, and I'm going to explain to you the reasons why that is, and the BMWs you should always avoid, especially on the E60, and this applies to the E90 as well. Now, as many of you guys know, the E60 was fitted with different variants, same along with the E90s, but we're going to go over that because the E90s didn't have so many differences as the E60 did, because the E60 started way before the E90. So I'm going to go over that, and I'm going to explain to you why you should avoid these cars and what you should be looking for, what models you should be buying on the E60 range at least. Okay guys, so as you'll see here, this is my E60 M5. Now, I know this is the M5, but this applies for all the E60s. Now, as many of you guys know, when you go to purchase an E60, and I get a lot of people who go and purchase them, they end up buying the most problematic E60s that were ever made, which is the 2003 to 2005 that have the diamond key and not the cassette type like this, which if you do that, you're gonna have all the old modules inside the BMW E60, i.e. the micro power module in the boot, all the old modules inside, everything that was a complete failure on the E60s when they were released. So I know a lot of you will go out your way just to have an E60 and you won't care about the year, model, but you've got to understand one thing. These cars had a lot of issues when they were first released up to 2005, and they were all rectified in 2006, hence the reason why you guys see I don't target nothing older than 2006 on the E60s, because a lot of the things were addressed because everything moved on to the KGM module. Now, a lot of people, what happens with that diamond key, let's get onto that for starters, it runs on the CAS 2. Same as this car does, same as my E60 does. They'll run on CAS 2 but using cassette. Now, the diamond key, which you guys will see on the picture that I'm putting up above, when you drop that, it ends up damaging the chip inside and the immobilizer. Then it loses sync with the EWS, and a lot of you can't start your car, or a lot of you will leave it out in water or drop it in a puddle of water on the floor, for instance, and then you end up with your key not working and your EWS where the car's cranking but not starting because it hasn't got no signal from the immobilizer. It's a common problem. Them keys break all the time, and that doesn't just apply for E60, that also applies for the E46 and E39. Anyone with them cars will understand what I'm saying. The diamond key is a problematic key. The case breaks all the time, and like I said, it is a problematic key. It always has been and always will be, hence why BMW changed over to the cassette style like this. It's a lot more safer, I believe, but a lot of people will disagree with me and say this is how cars were getting stolen. Yes, if you've got keyless entry, but if you don't have keyless entry, this is the best key you can get. They're very easily interchangeable, they don't go wrong. People have dropped in puddles and they still don't go wrong, but with a diamond key, you drop that even a couple of times, they're very temperamental, it damages the whole key inside and all the chip, and then you won't be able to start your car. And this is a problem I get all the time, people asking me on messages that their car ain't starting, how to turn off the EWS, they're looking for a way because their car's cranking but not starting, and that's the reason with that diamond key. And I've got a lot of guys with that issue, and they've come to me before with the same issue. So as you'll see here guys, as we go to open the bonnet, a lot of you will go and buy an E60, and what you'll find is if it's before 2006, you will have probably the M54 engine if you buy a 530i, 525i or a 523i. Now, they're the ones to avoid. Yes, the engine is reliable, but as I've said to many of you guys, the engine is reliable, but all the electronics are a failure on that car. It seems cheap to unreliable, but it's not. You also end up with the gearbox issues on these, which is on the ZF box, which was very problematic on the E60 itself. You also have the gearbox issues, which it was very well known to have gearbox issues, so something to be avoided as well at all costs on the E60. This is why I'm telling you to avoid the 2003 to 2005 models. A lot of you still go out your way to go and buy it. Please avoid them cars at all costs, and do not buy any that's below 2006. This is why a lot of you end up in your problems and your troubles, because you're going to buy these old junkers that nobody wants, and that's why people are getting rid of them. The next one I want to speak to you guys about is, which is a common problem on these E60s as well, under 2006, is the central electronics failure. Now, a lot of people, even in the UK, go out and buy the 2005, 2004, 530 diesel, 555 diesel only to find out about the central electronics failure. Yes, it can be fixed, but they are still unreliable, and it's best to avoid that year. If you can't afford to get the 2006 and up, you should avoid the E60 at all costs, and you shouldn't even be looking at them. The reason the 2006 and up are expensive is because of that reason. The 2006 and up had all the newer modules fitted, and they're more reliable on the gearboxes, and they changed a lot of features on the E60 going upwards up to the LCI models. They corrected a lot on the pre-LCI from 2006, and this is why they get expensive. And if you do have central electronics failure, you'll notice that you have a car on the lift which will be in red. Your combi will start flickering up and down. You'll end up here saying central electronics failure. Please contact the BMW dealership immediately, or please stop driving. You know the messages you'll get. I've done many videos on it which had it on a 5.5 diesel. That was a 2005, a prime example of the issues these cars face from that year on this chassis. A lot of people still end up with them issues, and this is why I tell people to avoid it like the plague. And if you're going to be purchasing an E60, to make sure you get one from 2006. So I know a lot of you are going to say to me, though, a lot of you can't afford that, and I get that. And there's a lot of people as well, especially in European countries where these cars are very expensive, and that's in other countries as well. Here is in the UK, these cars are very cheap. As many of you guys know, in the UK, cars are cheap, full stop. And that's because of everything else we got to pay. So when you look at the beneficial of insurance and road tax and things like that we have to pay for, it's not actually cheap for us to actually run it yearly. When you think about it compared to other countries, you may pay more, but you pay less long term than we do. We keep paying and paying and paying, providing as long as we own that car. So I get where people come from, where they want to go and buy any E60 just to have one. But a lot of people message me, send me photos on Instagram saying they're looking at buying this car, looking at buying that car. My best advice is avoid the 2003 to 2005. Now, as I said, a lot of these E60s were fitted with the M54 engine. Avoid that car like the plague. The engine is reliable, as I said, but the electronics are a failure. Now, onto the E90 subject. The E90, on the other hand, didn't have any of them issues. It didn't have many issues at all because it had the cassette, which is like what the E60 has here on the 2006 and up, and it also was only fitted with the M52 engine and not the M54, and that's the same for the diesels. The E90 didn't really have many issues. The main common issues with them were the FRM modules going out, which can be repaired very easily now. So if you want to go for something more reliable and something that's going to not give you any issues, I would go for the E90. A lot of people go for the E60 because it's cheaper and you can get it from an older year, but my best bit is, if you want to avoid all the electronic issues, is E90 is the best bit to go, because the most common things on them are the JBE and the FRM, which are very, very easily repairable. But apart from that, these cars are to avoid. As I said to you about the key as well, BMW E46, E39, E53, E38, they all suffer that issue with the key. Any with that central locking with a diamond key is very temperamental key. You know, the battery goes dead in it. That caused a lot of problems. You send the key off to have the battery changed, with people weld it onto the board again, and then it comes back with more problems with the EWS because the chip in it doesn't end up syncing back with the car itself. The only good thing about them on the E39s, the EWS is separate from the DME, but on the E60s as such, the EWS is built into the DME, and a lot of people don't realise that you just can't just reprogram it that easily to the car. It has to come out the car to be resynced with the car itself, and usually when it's getting no response from the key, it means it's time for a new key, a new transponder inside, as well as a new battery. So I hope this has cleared up a lot of things for you guys, and I hope this is going to set a lot of people straight as well. If you are looking to purchase an E60, avoid the ones with a diamond key, avoid the ones that are below 2006 as well, and that does also go for M5s as well. It won't apply for the M3 because the M3s were built very solid and didn't have any of them really electrical issues. As I said, all the E90s come with the cassette, and all the E90s only had the issues really the FRM. They didn't really suffer with the electronics failure. So as that goes, avoid the E60 with a diamond key, avoid the M54 engine, any with the M54 engine as a matter of fact. Try and avoid the estates as well, because as you guys know, the estates have the issues with the wiring in the boot, and they have a lot more issues with the ride height and things like that. But the M5 is one you do want to get from 06 and up, which is all on the KGM. You don't want it on the old modules. If it's fitted with the old modules, the M5 will suffer the same issues as well. So thank you very much for watching, guys. It's BMW Dr. Dean here. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and goodbye.